By the this is just the beginning. We are poised for the floor and would encourage you to follow what happens at plenary and on the floor.
But I can assure you that the showdown will happen here on the floor.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. Together we can. Now, in the last few hours, the minority side in Parliament, the NDC members on the Finance Committee, have been defeated on the e-levy. 3 votes, 3 defeats. But the NDC side on that committee in Parliament, they are not backing down. The NDC MPs were defeated at the committee level as they opposed the imposition of the controversial e-levy. The issue at the committee level went to votes. And in the end, the majority MPP side carried the day, with the chairman of the committee casting that deciding vote. There were 3 key issues that they had to vote on. One was the issue of whether to consider the e-levy bill under a certificate of urgency. That the minority insisted they would not support that. They called for a vote. It was put to a vote. It was initially 12-12 at a tie, and then the chairman of the committee cast the vote, the deciding vote, that won the day for the MPP side. Then comes the second controversial item. As far as the bill is concerned, the imposition of the 1.75% levy on MOMO, on mobile money transfers, which is a line item in the bill as was put before them. And this was item section 2(1) of the bill, which says mobile money transfers done between accounts on the same EMI will be taxed, will have this 1.75 on it. The minority side on the committee opposed this line, and they demanded that a vote be cast on it. Again, it was a tie, 12-12, and then the chairman cast his vote, and it led to a defeat because the chairman vote broke that tie in favor of the MPP side. And then comes the last item that they also oppose, which is bank transfers originating from a bank account belonging to an individual. That is another line in the bill, which will also be taxed. So if you are an individual and you are making a bank transfer, you will pay the 1.75. The minority side opposed this at the committee level during the consideration. Again, this matter also went to a vote. Again, it was 12-12 at the initial count, and the chairman, who doesn't have an original vote, did this casting ballot, which then decided the tie, again in favor of the NPP. So 3 defeats at the committee level, which means as we stand tonight, the Finance Committee of Parliament has by a majority decision recommended the approval of the controversial e-levy bill to the plenary. We're expecting that this will now come to the floor of Parliament for a debate, which will happen from all indications possibly later tonight. Listen to Kaysel Ato-Forson, Dr. Kaysel Ato-Forson, who is the ranking member on the Finance Committee and the minority spokesperson on finance, addressing a news conference shortly after the committee meeting.
We are sad. We are sad not only because we lost, but we felt that the MPP does not believe in democracy, and if they are determined to do something, they want to push it regardless of the cost. We then decided to sit in and not to boycott the processes. We do not believe that we should boycott it, and we should sit in and where possible, as much as we can, we get the bill improved or delete it completely. To start with, we propose that we delete the clause 1 of the bill that imposed the tax at 1.75%. The MPP again did not listen. We voted again using our standing orders, order 211, and they won using the same approach. First, it was a tie, and second, the chairman decided to exercise his right under order 2115. So they carried the day again. We sat in and again said that we do not believe that a clause 5 in the second schedule that talks about the fact that they are going to tax what we call the individual bank transfers, which means that if I sit here today and decide to pay my children's school fees, and then probably instead of going to the bank to pay cash, I decide to sit maybe in Parliament and then transfer it electronically. This insensitive NPP government is telling us that they are going to subject that to another tax of 1.75%. We cannot accept that. I want to say that we in the minority will not stop there. We will take the fight to the plenary. We will fight for the ordinary Ghanaian, and we will ensure that e-levy will die today. They can defeat us at the committee, but I strongly believe that when we come to the floor, all the 137 NDC MPs will stand firm with the ordinary Ghanaian in ensuring that e-levy does not see the light of the day. We will not compromise. We will not accept dialogue. We are going in with a simple position that we are going to vote against it. We will introduce a number of amendments by ensuring that this tax does not see the light of the day.
Well, his colleague John Jinapa, also on the Finance Committee, was clear that as far as the clause in the bill that specifies that 1.75% will be imposed on bank transfers originating from a bank account belonging to an individual concern, that matter is still yet to be decided on, even at the committee level.
On the Schedule 2.5, we have not taken a final decision on that, because that is the bone of contention now. And that is specific to say that all individuals, your money in your bank accounts, when you transfer it through any other individual or transfer it to any other person, they want to tax 1.75. But even more importantly, the minister did indicate to all of you that he was going to engage us further. He told you when he held a press conference. At the meeting, we asked the minister whether he was ready to reduce this obnoxious tax, at least to even cushion Ghanaians. That is to say, even if you won't listen to the NDC, at least would you listen to the people of Ghana, the mobile operators, mobile money operators, and all those in the industry and reduce it? The minister said that he wanted a certain revenue, and so he would not reduce it. But let me assure the people of Ghana, like the ranking said, the NDC remains resilient, committed, and determined to fight for the ordinary Ghanaian. This is just the beginning. We are poised for the floor and would encourage you to follow what happens at plenary and on the floor.
So, indeed, we expect this to come to the floor for a debate shortly, because the committee report would now have to be submitted. And from what we understand, it may happen tonight. We're monitoring this. We'll bring a live coverage of this. But still in and around Parliament, on the same controversial matter, the Information Minister, Kojo Nkrumah, who's also a member of the Finance Committee, has in the last few minutes been speaking to my parliamentary correspondent, Parker Wilson, on what happened at the committee level. He insists that government, it's not true, as the minority side have portrayed, that the government had refused to listen and to make concessions as far as the e-levy is concerned. He says government had made several concessions on the matter, and that it remains to be seen what the floor, the plenary, will decide to do once the committee report is laid. Listen to Kojo Nkrumah.
There were a number of issues that were raised a few weeks ago. First of all, the issue of remittances being included. Apart from remittances, the issue of, I think, checks being included in it. There were questions about the impact on Ghanaians, 1.75 in addition to the already existent 2%. I think in all the engagement so far, our government has listened and has made the necessary adjustments. So remittances are out, clearing of checks are out. In terms of the rate, we We've worked with the telcos to take away the 0.25 on their end, which assures government the revenue, but achieve the same objective of reducing the impact on the Ghanaian. So instead of what would have been 3.75, it comes down to about 3.5 now. And all of these were put before the committee today, and the necessary adjustments to the original bill were made. The decision was by majority decision. That's what we're waiting on the floor to take. Our colleagues in the minority have told us that they will repeat the arguments at committee on the floor, and it's our expectation that the colleagues on the majority side will also articulate their concessions that have been made and the amendments that have been made on the floor, and most likely it will come down to the numbers.
As of Friday, we were made to understand that you suspended the deliberation of the e-levy to allow for broader consultation.
No, that's not correct. I told
that's
you,
what the minority.
Yes, but I told you that to suspend means you started considering and then you pulled the brakes. We did not consider it at all on Friday. And you were there. The ranking member was there. The vice chairman was there. They both granted press conferences, and they both mentioned that it was not considered at all. All we considered was appropriation. It was this morning that we took the bill right from the beginning, right from the question of whether or not it should be considered as a certificate of urgency to the next question of the policy principles, and then clause by clause before the final, the final report was put together. So it was today that we started considering. It's never true that it was considered and suspended. It was today that we started working on it.
Finally, you won at the committee level. How confident are you that in the chamber, when the report is put before the House, again, you'll marshal your numbers, mobilize your numbers to approve the e-levy?
I don't think it's about winning or losing. It's about articulating or advancing what is in the best interest of the Republic. And we are humbly, respectfully of the view that what Parliament will decide in the end will be what will be in the best interest of the Republic.
And finally, for me, but those who have said that you're not listening to the other guidance, they're complaining. People have issued statements. The Momo vendors are saying they're going to start a demonstration, all in attempt to get government back down on the e-levy.
I think people are not also, or some of those who are saying the government is not listening, are not watching the various things that government has pulled the brakes on. Remittances are out, checks are out. What would have been the 3.75 impact has been reduced to 3.5 by getting the telcos to take a 0.25 haircut. A number of amendments have been made to accommodate all of the interest. In a democracy, you don't get a 100%. If the executive was hoping to get 100% of what it brought to Parliament, it wouldn't be here today. It wouldn't have done all of these consultations. But the executive has gone through all of these consultations, has cut down on some of the parts of the original bill as was brought. Those who objected to it also raised a number of things. They also didn't get 100%.
Well, the issue had come to the floor now, for what we understand, a short while ago, and there was a brief debate on it. The minority leader, Haruna Iddrisu, was clear, advising government to suspend consideration of the e-levy for now, just as he referenced the government of the former President Rawlings did when the VAT was first introduced, and there was Kumi Preko and there was a lot of protests. He was insisting that the e-levy should be suspended by government for some further consultations on this matter. There was some confusion over the business of the House and whether or not the House was properly empowered today to consider the e-levy bill if indeed it comes. Listen to Haruna Iddrisu on the floor shortly after the committees had finished its work and the press conferences had been had.
I've tried to persuade the Deputy Whip, the Honorable Ahmed, that as Parliament, we are masters of our own procedure, even though, Mr. Speaker, I cannot argue further when you made reference to Order 53 and the requirement that the Business Committee ought to have met and presented a statement of what we should be doing. But, Mr. Speaker, I must admit that my thinking was that my colleagues in government, when we transacted business up to the level of appropriation, there was one major outstanding issue in the name of the animal called e-levy. So I was thinking that government, just like in the past, when the NDC was confronted as a government with VAT, they withdrew it when they consulted stakeholders and came back with it. So my thinking was that this government would have learned some lesson from what happened in the past. But the majority leader indicated to me strongly that it was the wish of government to pass the e-levy. So, Mr. Speaker, I yielded to him that we could consider that this Monday, while sending a strong notice to him that our side of this house will not cooperate or support anything e-levy. So, Mr. Speaker, if it pleases you, we can accommodate them with the understanding that the major outstanding business that this house should be looking at is a matter of e-levy. But if I were those in government, that is not impervious to public opinion and the legitimate concerns of the Ghanaian people, I would have arrested it for further consultation to come back. But if they insist, we once we pass appropriation, which deals with expenditure, and they are not prepared to cut expenditure, we have to deal with the second leg of revenue. We will have to, Mr. Speaker, ask you to, within the meaning of Article 110 of us being masters of our own procedure, accept that that standing order can be stood down for our purpose that you are accommodating the e-levy. And Mr. Speaker, any matter that you may consider tangential to doing other business, we may be able, but not for anybody to come saying that we should extend stay today to tomorrow, or we should say e-levy, bring your reports. We'll debate it thoroughly, take our positions, and we see what numbers do for the people of Ghana, Mr. Speaker. So if I can persuade you that that particular standing order you have referred to, as appropriate and legal as it is, we consider it stood down so that the business committee is not expected to come with a statement, but we argue at a gentleman level that do e-levy and one or two other business that we may be able to accommodate before e-levy. But if our government want it for further consultation and come back more properly, but Mr. Speaker, I can only plead with you to consider that standing order.
So that's Sana Idrisu on the subject of the e-levy, and he's waiting for this to be laid, the report to be laid. Let me go to Parliament now. Let's bring in my colleague Parker Wilson, who's a parliamentary correspondent. Parker, so is the committee report ready before the House yet?
The committee report is not ready yet. I am told it's still at the printing stage. So it's been signed by the chair of the committee, Kweku Kwarteng, and now they are printing documents so that they give it to the members of the House to peruse it. That is yet to be laid before the House. But what we know is that the committee, by a majority decision, agreed that the e-levy should be passed under a certificate of urgency, which of course the minority can agree. So for now, it is still at the printing stage, and soon, we are told, it would be laid before the House. But Evans, let me say that some of the minority members are alleging that the government would want to put before the House the e-levy in the dead of the night, at a time when Ghanaians are really not paying attention to it. They are saying that they will still wait at any point in time that they lay the bill before the House. They will debate it thoroughly.
So it's very possible this will be laid, but it will be laid early morning.
Well, so that is the allegation, but the majority says that if they are done with the printing, of course, why the delay? They know that they have the numbers to ensure that the House approves the e-levy. So when it's done with printing, they will bring the levy before the House, submit it to all the members of the House, and then if the minority want to debate it, they are also open to a debate. And after that, when they subject it to a vote, they know that they have 138 members in the chamber. At the end of the day, the bill will be carried through.
I mean, so from every indication, both sides somehow are counting on their votes when it comes to the floor itself. Yes.
Where you've got into, that is the only option for both the minority and the majority. They are counting on their strength in the chamber at the time the question will be put to a vote. So if at a time the majority members have the full complement of the House, or they have all their numbers in the chamber, then it is quite obvious that the NPP will sail through with this levy. Either than that, it will be very...
Hello, Parker. Okay, let's get Parker back on because I'm looking in the chamber now as this live. The Parliament is still in session, considering some other business, and it doesn't look like both sides have the numbers currently as it stands in the House to really carry the day. I see empty chairs on the side of the minority, and I see empty chairs on the side of the majority as well. I think this is going to come down to a vote, and both sides counting very, very much so on their strength in the House in terms of the numbers. Parker, I lost you there.
Yeah. So I was making the point that if at the time the bill is subjected to a vote, then if the NPP, if they have the numbers in the House, then obviously the bill will be carried through, i.e. it will be approved and then it will take effect. But if they don't have the numbers, then it will be shut down by the minority. And Evans, Haruna Iddrisu, being the leader of the minority, has been clear from the one that they will mobilize all the 137 members of parliament on the NDC side to vote against the e-levy. And that played out at the committee level. At the committee level, you have 12 members from the NDC side and 12 members on the NPP side. All the 12 members on the NDC side voted against the bill. And then the NPP actually voted in favor. Now, if you come to parliament, per the standing orders, the chairman does not have an original vote, but has a casting vote. And so when it's a tie, then the chairman will be compelled to now cast a vote. And so when it was a tie, Kwaku Kwarteng was forced to now vote in favor of the bill, making it 13-12. So 13 majority, 12 minority. So at the end of the day, it was the majority decision that was carried through.
So that's where we stand now on the matter. And I noticed that, Parker, from the minorities press conference that Cassiel Ato-Forsyth addressed, that it is not, they are not entirely rejecting the e-levy as the e-levy bill. There are aspects of the bill that they are unhappy with. And I reference what they said at the press conference, that if you look at section 2.1, they are opposed to 1 and 5, but not 3, 4, not 2, 3, and 4. So 1 talks about imposition of the mobile money, imposition of the e-levy on mobile money transfers, and then 5 talks about bank transfers originated from an individual. If you look, those are the 2 they mentioned at the press conference, Parker, if you can confirm that. Those are the 2 items they mentioned.
Those are the 2 that they mentioned.
However, there are 3 other items there on which the e-levy is imposed, which is mobile money transfers from accounts on the EMI to a recipient on another EMI, transfers from bank accounts to mobile money accounts, either directly GIP debit, bank cards, or another scheme. And then 4, transfers from mobile money accounts to bank accounts, either directly GIP debit, bank accounts, or another scheme. Those 3, they did not disclose if they oppose it too, because they only opposed those 1 and 5, and actually asked for a vote on those 2. It suggests that they are okay with the 3 other items that the e-levy is imposed on.
Evans, that wasn't the understanding we got. The understanding from our point of view is about the charges on the levy. So the 1.75 has been the contention of the minority since day one, and even today, the argument has been that if it is 1.75, they'll kick against it. So with the minority press conference, we did not have the understanding that, well, they were okay with the other 3, but only kicking against the 2. But generally, the point is about 1.75, which they think would impose further hardship on the ordinary Ghanaian. And so if that is brought before the House without any tweaking, and in fact, they are not even looking for a tweak. They want a 0%. So if anything less than 0%, they won't vote for it or they won't support it. And that has been the understanding being given to us by the minority. Even last Friday, Haruna Iddrisu was also clear that they want a 0%.
Yeah, I mean,
that they would disagree.
That they've articulated, but when it came to the committee level, they did themselves at a press conference that this was a line-by-line consideration in as far as the bill was concerned. And they on the 2 lines, they asked for a vote. But the question remains, why didn't they ask for a vote on the remaining 3? I mean, it begs that question. They need to explain. Is
Of
it
course,
that?
I think they should put some clarity on that.
Yes. I mean, because they told us that they're going to demand for a vote on everything, right? That's the position that they've articulated.
That is the position, and even when the bill is brought before the House, again, we are told that they will demand a vote on every clause, every provision in the bill.
Exactly. But at the committee level, as far as what you covered at the press conference, they only disclosed that they asked for a vote on 2 items, not all items, not all lines in the bill, which raises that question that still needs to be clarified. Parker, thank you very much. And we're watching that space. There's a long time, a lot more time to still wait for this to happen. I see on the floor, in fact, the Finance Committee Chairman is on the floor currently, still making some presentations. Let's listen to him very briefly.
Another 6 months in 2022 to give further relief to the industry. We therefore urge the House to approve this bill and to let it become law. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Also, that's the Finance Committee Chairman there, Kweku Kwarteng. This is not the e-levy bill that he's just asked the House to consider and approve. That, we understand, as just the printing has just been done and will be laid before the House very shortly. We are live for you there. Once that starts, the debate starts, we'll bring you live coverage from Parliament on this.
To believe in you. We are changing, so should you. If you're dreaming, don't be afraid. And in the valleys, keep your head up high. Dare to dream with Puma drinks. Puma, yeah. Believe it, you can achieve. Puma, oh yeah. Clap your hands for the whole new vibe. Make we set the place on fire. Oh yeah, come alive. Let me hear you. Puma drinks, a whole new vibe. Another quality product from Casa Precon.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Iba.